So today's video is gonna be very vulnerable and embarrassing, but if it can help one person, then I'm gonna talk about it, okay? So today we're talking about waiting for God's best for you and not settling. I really don't want to talk about it. Okay, I'm 24 and I thought that at this age I would have my MRS degree, if you know what I mean. I thought that I would be married at this age and hopefully on like my third baby by now. But we're not even close to that. There's not even prospects, okay? And that's so embarrassing to talk about, but at the same time, I know that God has never failed me. Just because things are not going in my timeline doesn't mean like that he's going to fail me, if that makes sense. So I didn't want to talk about this because I feel like everyone, once they're married, they're always like, oh, we just have to wait on God. You just have to just wait on God and it'll come when it comes, you know? And I always look at that and I'm like, it's really easy for you to say that because you already got a husband, girl, okay? And that's why I want to talk about it right now in the middle of me going through it, like going through all these feelings, because I do struggle with the thought, like, what if I never get married? And I struggle with the thoughts of what's wrong with me and like, why am I not more like this? Why am I not more like that? Blah, blah, blah. Which are total lies. And it's so bad to compare yourself to others, which is why I deal with these thoughts, because I'm gonna be a bridesmaid, y'all. It's not my first time being a bridesmaid, but I think the older I get, I'm kind of like, what's going on, God? Because people are younger than me, already engaged or already married, and I'm like I haven't even gotten started. Like I'm like what's going on? And yeah, I do struggle with it, and I go back and forth because I'm like, where, like, everyone, like, I feel like I was in the same like path as everyone around me that's getting engaged, and then I'm like, where did I go to the wrong turn, you know? But then I remember again that God has never failed me up to this point, and I know he will never fail me. There's so many Bible verses talking about, I will never fail you, I will never forsake you, and God will never leave me. And even though it's hard to wait and it's hard to wonder, like, what if it never comes? That's the reason I want to make this video right now while I'm in the middle of these feelings, because it's not hard to find someone to like you, okay? Especially when we got these eyes, okay? I'm just kidding. The thing is not the issue, but the thing is like not finding, because we don't chase boys, okay? But it's like being with the person that God has for you, and the right person, and not just some random person that, okay, like, this person likes me, but actually, I'm gonna use the word finding just because it's easier to say, but you know what I mean. Like, finding a good godly man that will be a good godly father to your children one day, and that will encourage you, protect you, help you grow as a Christian, and not just any loser you find on the street, okay? Because it's not hard to find someone to like you, honestly, okay? The hard part is knowing that that person is God's will for your life. Yeah, I just wanted to encourage someone out there that you feel like, what's wrong with me? Like, did God forget about me? He did not, okay? And I tell you this as someone who probably has like a crash out like once a week about what's wrong with me, okay? God has his best for you. It's important to trust him on that, and just remember all the times that he's been there for you. The example that always comes to my mind is money and like financial stuff. When I was in college, I was broke, and I did not get a full scholarship, so I had to get loans. And so I would always stress out, because even after the loans, I still had to pay for my school. I remember stressing out all the time how I was gonna pay for it, and God always coming through for me. And there's so many other times in my life where God has come through. I had no idea how things were gonna happen, and God always came through. And I know it's going to be the same. You know, I have prayed, like, God, if marriage is not for me, why do I have this desire? You know, I've never been one to, well, I'm lying, I have been. I used to want to be a teacher, and then these kids are crazy because their parents don't parent them, so not for me, okay? But besides being a teacher, I've never longed for a career. but I've always longed to be a mother, which, you need a husband for that. So like genuinely, it's a desire that I have, and I don't think it's an abnormal want. But I do think, the reason God hasn't given me a husband is because he doesn't think I'm ready for it. And it's hard to accept that, and it's hard to think, man, like I wanted to have like my 5 kids by the time I was like 25, kind of rambling. I don't want to make this about me. My point with this video is to encourage someone that thinks like, what's wrong with me? Like, nothing's wrong with you. And something I heard that has stuck with me is like, no one has ever died from being single, but unfortunately many people have died from being with the wrong person. Yeah, I just want to encourage you, there's nothing wrong with you. God has his perfect plan for all of our lives. He will send whatever it is. Maybe it's not even a husband that you're wanting. He will send it when he thinks is best, and his plan is always the best. Even when you don't understand, but when you see, everyone else getting what you've been wanting, his plan is the best. And yeah, like, again, going back to my school loans example, like looking back, I'm always like amazed, because I'm like, I was over here freaking out thinking, how am I going to do this? And then over here I'm seeing, wow, like this is straight up a miracle from God. And it just shows how powerful he is and how great he is. And something else I heard, I think I've talked about this before, is something I heard in a sermon was, your life is not about you. Your life is about your interactions with others, And so I really would not like to get married before, like after I'm 30, please God, please. But like, if that's what God thinks is best, I don't understand it right now and I don't get it. But if my story is meant to help someone else and encourage someone else, then all glory to God. And all I can do is pray that God gives me the strength to wait that long. But yeah, and I also kind of wanted to just touch on not having idols in your life. And I would definitely say that marriage is something that I've idolized, and I've thought, man, like it's something that I've done all the time actually. Like growing up, I was like, man, when I finish school, life will finally be perfect. When I get this job, life will finally be perfect. And right now it's like, when I get a husband, life will finally be perfect, which is not true. Like, marriage is two imperfect sinners getting together. Like, the idea that your husband is going to fulfill you and make you the happiest person ever and fix every problem in the world is not true. And no marriage is perfect. And again, no marriage is like, I'm not saying that you can't, that your husband won't make you happy, or I'm glitching, or that your husband, like, I'm not saying that marriage isn't a beautiful thing that God created, but I don't know, bro, I've never been married, okay? But what I'm saying is that your relationship with God should always be the first thing, even above your marriage. I'm trying at this point to, I do pray for my husband, and if God has one for me. And, it is something that excites me, that the possibility of it could happen one day. But I also don't want it to be everything that my life revolves around. And it's something that I've thought about more recently, just because, again, if you don't know, I'm not a teacher, I'm a substitute teacher. Sorry, I just got a text, so I'm trying to read but also pay attention. Okay, so I'm a substitute teacher. Again, I always wanted to be a teacher. Then I realized what it actually is, and I was like, no. And so my next career thing that I want is I want to be a stay-at-home mom. That's I've been going on and on about that since I was 18. And more recently, I was like, what if I don't get married? What then? Am I just gonna be longing and longing for this thing, and then if it doesn't happen, what, my life is incomplete? It's not, you know what I mean? I hope that makes sense. But yeah, there's not even one Bible verse in this in this video. I'm so sorry. I'm just talking out of my brain. Yeah, if you think about, I love the story of Rachel and Jacob. He works that Bible verse is he worked 7 years for her, but it felt like a day because he loved her, something like that. That's so cute. All I'm gonna say is I hope this encouraged you. Do not settle for less than God's best. I've fortunately been surrounded by unfortunate stories of people rushing into things and marrying the wrong person, the person that God didn't have for them, the person who doesn't love the Lord. It's kind of kept me encouraged and saying, yeah, I may be a little older, but at least I don't have to struggle with that, you know? Yeah, I think during this waiting time, you can work on your relationship with God and making sure that you are where you need to be. And of course, we're not perfect, but every day is about trying your best and trying to live for the Lord and being a little better every day. And that's what I'm working on, you know? I can cook, I can clean, but there's still a lot of stuff in my attitudes that I can work on. And so there's always something to work on and improve on, and use this time to stay busy. And I also something that one of my married friends told me is that embrace and take advantage of this time that you are single to serve God. And because once you're married, it's that's it. You're gonna be with this person that you love for the rest of your life, but you will you'll always have, again, this sounds kind of bad, you'll always have to respond to that person, you know? Whereas when you're single, it's during this time, it's you have the least responsibilities. You can just spend all this time with God, with your friends, with your family. I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, but sum it all up. There's nothing wrong with you. Pray, make a list for what you want in a husband. Give that to God. Whenever you feel man, what's wrong with me? Give it to God, because those thoughts are not true. And wait on his timing, because his timing has been and always will be perfect. And he's going to work things out for your best, and so he can get the most glory. And so be happy for other people that are having that stage right now. Wait for God's best. Do not settle for less, because there's a lot of people that have settled. And just imagine your husband is the only person that you get to choose that's part of your family. I didn't make this up, okay? I just heard the quote. But so why would you choose a loser? Okay, respectfully. And that's all I have for today. Wait on God's best. He loves you. God is the only person who will never ever let you down. Even your husband will let you down, sadly, but God will never. And so don't even mess with anything that's not God's best for you and God's will. And I hope that made sense. That was a little rambly, but I hope you have a good day.